Hey YouTube, this is Mark in Northeast Indiana in the shop. Video number 2 in a mini series that has me working on a single shotgun gun rack. It's the gun rack for my 16 gauge double barreled J. Stevens shotgun. Already I have made this piece, which is going to be holding the shells, and you've already seen that video. Due to the spacing, I can only get 9 shells on this. I was hoping for 10, but I just didn't quite have enough room there, I didn't feel. And so 9 shells, this will be on the bottom of that gun rack. You're gonna see how I process some of that wood, that lumber, the weathered lumber from that stone wheel grinding machine, and how I get it put together. And then the last video in this series, I think, is just going to be dedicated to the forging of the gun hook, and then I'll be ready to mount it on a wall and put the shotgun on it. So hope you enjoy this video. Again, not a lot of talking in these videos, just me working. I may have some commentary here and there on this video, but I appreciate you coming to watch. Appreciate it if you give the thumbs up, the like button, I guess it is, for the video. Comment below if you've got anything to suggest or any way that you want to interact with me. I get back with you as soon as I can. And share the video. Subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate the new subscribers. So enjoy the video. Till we see each other again. Cheers. So this is a rough assembly of the gun rack. Obviously nothing is glued together or fixed together. This is where the hooks are going to go for the shotgun, and then obviously this will be mounted below for the shotgun shells. I did change up the width of these pieces coming down below. I was only going to have them be about 3.5 inches wide, and then decided on a wider material. I thought it would look better, And I was working off that one square piece of weathered lumber, and it kind of messed these pieces up because I had already cut these at 3.5 inches. So I had to cut a thin piece that I'm going to glue together. So you'll see that there are actually 4 pieces up here, but I'll glue these together. And with all the different cracks and weather on this lumber, you won't really see that's glued together when it's all finished. Haven't quite figured out how I'm going to fix this to these oak runners in the back. Obviously this is not centered. I've got to do all the measuring there. But I have some red oak that actually was I got on a clearance at Lowe's. This was a 3.5 inch wide piece of like a rough sawn oak trim that had like a light brown stain. So pretty heavy pieces of wood back here for these runners. These will also be used to mount to the wall. I'm thinking that I may use hand forged nails here. Just got to do some measuring and figure out exactly what I'm going to do there. So going to get all this put together, and I'll show you the end process, or the end product, what it looks like. So I've set up this about how I want to lay it out. I've got about 7.5 inches in between these runners. I've got marks drawn on these just where this board will just cover them up so you won't be able to see them. Plus there'll be that other piece going here. So it gives me roughly from the outside edges of the runners to the end about 5.5 inches on either side. And then this other piece, I have one large hole like this on this end. I'll bring this over to this side, and I think I'm going to use those hand forged nails. Probably drill a hole in these, although I need to lay out before I do this. I need to figure out where I want the hooks to fall. Because if I want the hooks to go in here on the runners, which makes sense, then I would probably have to come in from the back side, so I could probably just use a wood screw. So that's probably what I'll do, is flip this over and use wood screws underneath to fix these, and then use hand forged nails for the hooks here. On these pieces here, I may use hand forged nails. I just need to figure out what it looks like first. Hand forged nails, these are 1 inch long. The total width on these two boards is 1 3/8 inches. It doesn't look to me like these are going to penetrate either direction enough to support the weight of the wood and then the shotgun on top of it. I've got all kinds of horseshoe nails. These are the smallest I have. These are 1 5/8 inches. They are not a structural nail, obviously, but I'm just got them out here to try to think through some things. I've also got these, I've got bags of these old square nails that I would probably drop in Evaporust and clean up, but these are 2 1/4. So they're too long. Now I can cut them down but then I'm not really sure. I'm afraid I'd be splitting wood at that point if I started right about there. If I made them 1 3/8. So I've got some decisions. Now I have buckets and buckets of nails. All kinds of different types of nails. Some ring shank nails, some longer nails. I've got a couple more pails back over here. But I really like the idea of using the hand forged nails. Now I can forge some other nails, but it's just going to take longer to do so. So I'm going to sit here a little bit and think about it. So I think I've come to a conclusion. I'm not going to use hand forged nails on affixing the cross pieces to the what I'm calling the runners. I'm going to use these 1¼ inch, if you can see that. Ring shank nails is what I call them. I'm not sure what they are actually called because I dug them out of a dumpster from a neighbor. Interesting story. We're really good friends with a neighbor that property backs up to the our back of our property, and known them for years. And her husband passed away. This has been several years ago, and he held on to everything. And then when she was in very poor health, the kids, her adult kids, were just throwing everything out into these big dumpsters. So I went down there one night and dug through them and salvaged buckets and buckets of hardware and all kinds of stuff. So, but I think my thought is these, while they're not very big around, I could put several of them, maybe a half dozen of them in each board, and really, I mean, nothing's going to pull that piece off. When I mount the hook to the cross members, the large cross members, I'm going to mount that right on that runner. And of course, the steel I'm using is only going to be maybe 1/8 inch thick. So those larger forged nails will drive into that through the board and into the runner. So I'll have extra holding capacity that way. And I think that's going to be the cleanest way for me to do it. So now that the decision is made, let's get to hammering. I've marked 5.5 inches from the end of the cross piece. Perfect. Nothing coming through. I think those are going to work out really well. Nothing coming through. I'll probably put 6 total on each runner. So these boards are so weathered that they're not straight this way. So I've got them clamped. I don't mind the gap. You're not going to be able to see anything through the other side. But I clamped them tight, and I think when I get 6 more nails in each piece up here, it'll hold it securely. Had to nail around this knot. Didn't feel like trying to drive a nail in there. Plus there's a crack right here, obviously, that goes all the way through, but I think that'll be okay. Now you'll notice I turn these over. That doesn't really matter because these pieces are going to cover those runners up, both down here and up top. The top pieces are the pieces that I have glued. I wrote dimensions on this. I don't know if I can pick up that writing. Yeah, tabletop. Yeah, put a number on it. So I've got to take an eraser and take off the pencil lead marks graphite, whatever. Let me show you on one of these pieces that I have glued. I also had an arrow on this point here, and these are obviously two different pieces glued together, and I erased it, and you'll see that it kind of made this a little bit blonde. And I do have, like on these edges here, I am going to hopefully put in the video here a link, probably displayed on the screen, of a gentleman that I watch who restores like wagons from the 1800s, late 1700s, I think, probably more 1800s. And he uses a solution of vinegar and metal shavings that he'll let set for like overnight or whatever. He sprays it on the wood, and it turns the wood somewhat gray. So on this piece especially, and on this area where I've got some scribble written down here, I'm going to do that. I will also do it on these fresh cut edges, and hopefully by now you'll see the link to his YouTube channel. If you find stuff like this interesting, I'm sure you'll find his YouTube channel interesting as well. I love watching him work. So it's coming together, and obviously now the nails have come through, and there's 12 nails on either side, and I think that's going to be plenty to hold the hooks for the shotgun up. Pretty happy with the way the nails look in this piece. I didn't even realize that I might put a nail through a shell holder. However, I was successful in missing those. So I really enjoyed using these square nails. The gun rack now is basically all complete as far as the wood structure goes. I'm basically just talking about it, how I'm going to address the issue of the blonde wood. This is my outro, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. I've lost everything on this video clip. So basically, I do know that I did talk about nails and their importance to society as far as the history of nails. And I talk about it. You can get on YouTube and actually look. There's videos about how important nails were all the way back to the Roman Empire, and how valuable they were because of the effort that was taken to make the nail. Um, Actually, in the Roman Empire times, they would actually pull the nails out, take them with them if they ever moved from one location to the next. Of course, blacksmithing, a large part of their work was forging nails. And those are very interesting videos to watch. If you ever get online, check those out. And really, the Industrial Revolution and the onset of machinery that could produce nails on a mass production sense really changed lives for a number of people. So here's what I have so far. Really appreciate you watching. Come back, see how the forging goes. Get out in your shop, try something new. Don't be afraid to fail, because more often than not, you will succeed.